Okay, this is the site right here. These structure right here and foundation right here. This is the site of Woodward Iron Company's Redding Shaft mine, which the shaft is right there. That big concrete block right there with the steel little building on it, structure. That's the side of the shaft. Right here is the hoist house. Right here you had a spur line that ran past the bathhouse all the way to the commissary. And right here on the other side you had a spur line going this way also that ran in between the steel frame supports for the crusher, the tipple if you wanted to say, and the ore crusher. So where the rail cars would be loaded with ore. Okay, the Woodward Iron Company developed this between 1919 and 1921. This was in response to the Tennessee Coal, Iron, and Railroad Companies. They purchased the tracks of the Birmingham Railroad on the north side of the mountain, where up on top of the mountain is the original Songo slope mine. So the property of the Woodward-Songo mine is a half a mile in between Escuda number 11 and Winona number 10. The distance of this mine, when it was fully worked out in the late 50s, extends for a mile from the top of the mountain all the way to the southwest. Approximately 1 mile, had an average depth, finalized depth of about 1,000 feet. So Woodward decided to go ahead and build this shaft right over the main slope of the Songo mine, because TCI, the Tennessee Coal, Iron, and Railroad Company, by then a subsidiary of United States Steel Corporation, purchased all the tracks of the Birmingham Mineral Railroad and thereby was trying to push Woodward out to get him to sell this valuable property. Hence, all of it would be owned by TCI at that point. But Woodward did not, the Woodward Iron Company did not want to give up this property and this valuable ore. So they came up with an ingenious idea to develop this shaft, which ended up being about 387 feet down. It was, I believe, 12 by 20 or 12 by 12, concrete lined, and it went all the way down to meet the slope. They also decided to use the existing tracks of the Birmingham Mineral Railroad, the South Branch, because it was really not that much in use anymore. So Woodward began utilizing these tracks as a way to not have to worry about paying TCI any trackage rights. So anyway, it took about 2 years to develop all this, and in the meantime, Woodward Iron Company built new homes for the miners, bathhouse, commissary, mine office, medical office, and this is where they operated the Songo mine, the Redding Shaft, from 1921 to 1927 before it was shut down. Okay, when the Woodward Iron Company was developing this shaft, at the same time they were also developing another shaft called the number 4 mine, later to be called the Pine Mine, further to the southwest. That shaft was going to eventually be about 1,400 feet deep. So both times they were developing these shafts, one for their new mine, later to be called the Pine Mine or the number 4 mine, and this one. This was contracted to the Salmon and Cowan Company, which is today the Cowan Company or Cowan Equipment Company, and then they subcontracted it to a company called E.J. Longyear out of Minnesota. to help do the shaft work. So the structure right here, the Redding Shaft Hoist House, was most likely designed by a famous architect out of California back around 1920. It was most likely designed because at the same time the Woodward family was having their estate built on top of Red Mountain in the Forest Park area. And they had it designed as a kind of a Mediterranean Spanish style villa. So this is of the same type of architecture, so probably goes to say that the architect designed this hoist house to look something similar like their estate. Okay, so you've got the foundation remains of the ore crusher foundation. You've got the mounts, foundation mounts for the steel frame cable hoist, which when it was built, I believe it was about 100 feet high, maybe a little higher, maybe 110. So it was all steel frame. Back over in this direction, you had the electrical substation, because by 1921, about all the mines had been converted to electrical use, electricity, instead of coal-powered for steam. So you've got the hoist house here. It had twin cable hoist. I believe they might have been built by a local Birmingham manufacturer, Hardy Tynes. Right there, it's amazing they're still in place, that they weren't dismantled. It's amazing the whole building wasn't dismantled. It's about the only structure existing along Red Mountain at this point is this cable hoist house right here. So okay, so up on top of the mountain, you had the original Songo slope mine, which operated from the late 1890s. It was originally part of the Redding mine complex. That's why this area behind me is known as the Redding Shaft, kind of a tribute to the original Redding mines. That's why it differs from Songo, even though it's the same mine. So the original slope mine is up in this direction with some of the building remains and rail remains, and see if we can get up there to video that. But all down in here, all this was cleared out. It's hard to imagine. This whole area was just cleared out back then, over 100 years ago. So, but anyway, the shaft said was about 387 feet. Everything was electrically operated, and when they brought the ore up, came up the hoist, dumped down into a chute into the ore crusher, and deposited into the waiting rail cars of the Woodward Iron Company. 1948, when they reopened the Songo mine, the Redding shaft here was converted as an air shaft. I believe they had a Aerodyne Systems fan put in here to push air down into the mine. So they just converted the shaft into an air shaft. So that's why some of the stuff still remains in place right here. Okay, this is looking northeast. on the old rail bed of the Birmingham Railroad, which was a division of the Louisville and Nashville Railroad. And this is now part of the walking trail, the South Branch walking trail of Red Mountain Park. And over in this direction over here where it's kind of cleared out, there were miners' homes. And back beyond these trees here, there's a big field. There was about half a dozen miners' homes here. And this right here, this concrete foundation right here, remains of the steps. This was a little depot right here for the Birmingham Railroad, passenger and freight depot. So probably had a platform right along here. So this was considered basically almost to be a whistle stop. So when the Birmingham Railroad used to carry passenger and freight traffic, but that's looking back to the southwest. And all up in here, there were homes up here. Most of all this section right here was occupied by black miners and their families. There was a church up here. And on this side, going all the way towards the top of the mountain, were supervisors' homes. This is where the white miners lived. And through that thicket right there was the commissary and the bathhouse. The mine office, doctor's offices used to be further up the mountain there. Of course, the Redding Shaft is around the corner up there, and up on top of the mountain is the original Songo mine. So, but this was a pretty active area up until the late 1920s, 1927, and then it was, of course, reopened by Woodward in 1948. They reopened the Songo mine. So anyway, I'm going to be heading on down here. May take a look up in the woods to see if there's any remains of brick foundations, and of course the basement foundations to the Songo mine, or the Redding Shaft or Songo mine commissary, through the woods over here. So okay, you've got the Redding Shaft right there along with the Hoist house. Just right here above that berm over there, that's where the bathhouse would have been. Back further would have been the commissary, mine office, doctor's offices. There were houses scattered all the way up near the top of the mountain. Right here is the Birmingham Railroad bed. Right here, this continues all the way down past Venice Road, continuing all the way down to Bessemer. Up here, you had miners' homes. Some pretty dense vegetation, pretty overgrown. So, gonna forego trying to go up there and look for any remains. Probably just some brick foundations. All these homes were made out of wood. So when everything was finally closed down in the late 50s, whatever homes that were left, they were just scavenged, dismantled. Plus, Woodward did some of that too, because any existing structure they had to pay property taxes on. So that's why you come out to a place like Red Mountain Park, you just see the concrete foundations. Now, why they left the Hoist house there, maybe they just admired the architecture. So, but anyway, all up in here, there were about 2 to 3 dozen homes up here. There was a church up here at one time. So all this was built between 1919 and 1921. So, all right. Okay, this right here is the foundation of the bathhouse right here for the Redding Shaft. also known as the Songo Mine. You can see the vegetation is really thick. So it was pretty large bathhouse. So when the miners left the bathhouse, they would just come out, walk straight over here to the be taken down the shaft. So there was a rail line right here. Can't hardly tell, it was a little spur line. You had a rail line, of course, going to the crusher and tipple of the Redding shaft. You also had another rail line right here that ran past the bathhouse and went to the commissary. So, and right up over here in these woods right here is where they had the mine office, medical or doctor's office. Had some supervisors' homes up here and various other homes for miners up in this direction. So the commissary foundation will be just down here. And at least they've kept some of this cleared out, which is nice. So still a little bit too overgrown in some areas. So we'll see if we can find the commissary basement foundations, and then see if there's any foundations or anything of anything left of the mine office or the doctor's offices. And I doubt, might be able to find some brick foundation remains heading up the mountain there. But head over here and see if we can find the commissary foundation remains. Okay, so this is the site of the Woodward Iron Company's Redding-Songo Mine commissary right here. All that's left is the basement right here. So it's a pretty good size commissary. Right there you can see the other wall right there, and it extends back over to this section here. And just on the other side of that, it's really hard to tell. There was a rail line, spur line, that ran just past where the shaft is, back in this direction, and ran to the left of the bathhouse. So they always had rail lines going to the commissaries for the most part, because that's how they railed in all the supplies to stock the commissary with back then. But been told by some people that grew up in one of the Escuda mining camps that this caught fire, I believe, in 1960. It was actually, the commissary had been long since abandoned, and moonshiners had taken it over, and they were actually right here in this basement. They had a huge moonshine still operation, and I guess one day something happened that caught fire, and it just burned everything to the ground. So hence no more commissary. But this is the foundation to the Songo/Redding Mine commissary. And it's too bad it's not cleared out, but at least I was able to find it. So, all right. Okay, it's hard to even tell, but all down in here, this side here, and going down here was the site of the mine office, medical office. The buildings were built back into the south side of the mountain. They were just on, they were wooden buildings built on, you know, brick foundations. So it's completely overgrown. Haven't even seen one brick foundation. So it's pretty densely overgrown. And so we'll just make our way up towards the top of the mountain and check out the original Songo mine. But no evidence of any of these structures, not even a brick foundation, even remain today. So